And we are back. Appreciate y'all for being here. We're back at it again. Cowboys had a day off. We kind of did too, but we're back at it again. Bryan Broaddus from the tennis courts. How you doing, sir? Well, you're doing all right. Don't answer the question. Brian's doing just fine.
I'm doing excellent, Voch. I'm doing all right. I'm doing just fine, though. Yeah, busy day, good practice, and it's good to see some guys that we haven't been practicing with on the fields today.
Brian, I don't want to hit you with the typical. We got a long show to hit all the people watching with the typical. I got a question for you, Brian. Voch says this.
Sure.
Voch says this. What do you think Al Harris's role is to this team? And how much do you think that impacts everything that's going on, not just from cornerback guy, but hey, Joe Witt's not in charge of the whole DB picture anymore. Al Harris now. Oh, well, I see some clips of Eric Kendricks over there working with Al Harris. What Eric Kendricks doing over there working with Al Harris? Eric Kendricks was catching the ball and jumping all in the air. Al Harris said, hey, you know, if you don't leave your feet, you score if you catch this interception. I say, that's an interesting tidbit that I don't know if anybody's going to ask to any of the media pundit people. Brian, well, I just want to know about the role of the typical assistant head coach, Al Harris's role in particular. You know, Mike McCarthy's more of a delegator. You know what I'm saying? How much is Al Harris doing big picture wise defense? Because the secondary looked different. And if I had to guess, I think they're ramping up for linebackers to get more interceptions. Me and you talked about this a long time ago, but that's just what we do here. And you see Al Harris coaching a linebacker through the interception stuff. So before we get into the easy camp talk that everybody going to talk about, Bryan Broaddus, talk to me about Al Harris and what he been doing out here.
Man, I really appreciate your understanding of this because I think it's an excellent question. And I know that Al Harris plays a big role. Yes, he has the title of assistant head coach. To be honest with you, I'm super happy that Dan Quinn didn't take him with him to the Commanders. I'm glad that Al Harris wanted to be the loyalty that he has to Mike McCarthy, even though they're in a situation right now where they're all really coaching for their lives, to speak. I think Al Harris is a damn good coach. I thought Al Harris was a really good player, but I think he's an even better head coach, a better, even defensive back coach.
Sure.
With what he's been able to do. These kids, the buy-in, the technique, he's not a yeller screamer guy. We've got some coaches on this defensive staff that are a little bit more vocal, but Al Harris is a teacher. You could tell by the way that his kids play that he, and him getting the opportunity to work with him and them be his own, I think has been super impressive. I know that Al is a very smart player. Mike Zimmer, I know Mike Zimmer very, very well. I know Mike Zimmer really likes Al Harris. And he's never coached with Al Harris before, but he's competed against Al Harris. So he understands, who he is, but he brings a lot of professionalism to this secondary, and he brings a lot of experience when it comes to being a player. But for him to have really his opportunity for these guys to be his own, it's been really special to watch. And I'm sorry I'm coming up with all these flowery kind of crazy, like I'm about to cry words, but I had my questions about the secondary. Yeah. I had, how good was this safety group going to be? How good are the corners going to be? Man, what about the depth at the position? Man, you look at this group at practice every single day. They put guys out there, and the reason they're able to do the things that they're able to do and disguise coverages and confuse Dak and Cooper Rush and Lance and confuse these receivers. You heard the receivers after practice. Yeah. They're all talking about Mike Zimmer's defense. Mike Zimmer's defense is a good defense. I've been with it a long time in my life, but it takes guys to coach it up, to teach it. Al Harris is a damn good coach, and his guys, I can't tell you how many times that in these practices where I've seen, a safety just start walking.
Sure.
And he walks to the line and times the blitz perfectly. Whereas before, you have to line up to get a blitzer there. I haven't how competitive they have been I know you and I haven't, we haven't really dove into the scrimmage and all that stuff the way we probably should have. But I think that, to me, you watch how competitive they are, how they rip the ball out of these receivers' hands, how they run with routes, how they're in position. They don't bust. And when they do bust, they're correcting it on the field, or they're able, it's not like, let's wait till we get to the meeting room and figure this out. Al Harris and Mike Zimmer and those guys are immediately talking about it on the field. And you cannot play the coverage like they play if your cornerbacks and your safeties are making a bunch of errors. And that guy right there in the full sweats, the full black sweats, is the reason why they're able to do what they're doing.
You just see him working on a lot of the small stuff. Like, hey, this is what an interception is going to look like coming over your shoulder, right? Or, hey, Kendricks,
right.
Keep your feet on the ground. And, I'm not there listening, right? But I could I could take clips like this and go, man, I bet they're working on like really small stuff. Like, that's Eric Kendricks standing next to DeRon Bland, standing next to Trey Diggs. What is he doing there? And I feel like watching film on this secondary, Brian, it's almost like the linebackers weren't connected to it last year. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like the linebackers were more a part of the D-line group than the secondary group. And it's like the linebackers are a part of everything now, because when you see, run game stuff, you see linebackers like not just fitting, but they're fitting aggressively now. And then we look at, you already mentioned it, how many times have we said, okay, they lined up in A gap, but they ended up in the flats. You know what I'm saying? Or, please.
Great example. Yeah, great example of that today, to your point, is, that Micah Parsons was in the A gap and he was standing next to Kendricks. And what he do? He ended up he was lined up in the A gap to his left. He ended up in the C gap to his right.
Yeah.
With the way that it's just the ability to, and you talk about connected. And I think last year with Dan Quinn, and this is no slam at Dan Quinn, this is just reality. They went short at linebacker and it hurt them. And there was not really linebackers, there was young guys and stuff like that. But when Van Der Esch got hurt and all that, they really didn't have a linebacker group. It was really more about, Bell and Curse and those guys kind of play in that position. So yeah, it was they did the best they could. Yeah, there you go. I mean, look at
the burst on that kid, bro.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Look how deep he's playing, and then he just starts kind of walking, and next thing you know, he's running. And now it's a free damn run. And look, they try, they're trying to get over to get him, and they can't. Mm-hmm. But look how deep he is. And all of a sudden, and there's Jordan Lewis standing there, and they're pointing, and everybody's saying, okay, let's slide, and here we go. And now they're going to slide, and that leaves Micah Parsons screaming off the damn edge, unblocked. That's a nightmare right there.
Yeah.
But that's what we saw, not just today, but we've seen that with others, whether it's Micah Parsons, whether it's Wilson, whether it's Bell. There's always seems to be a free Luafau. There seems to be a free runner with this defense more times than not.
And Brian, I don't want to get carried away, man. What is this? What is this?
Oh, I don't think we're getting carried away.
Yeah.
I just think that, to me, I have a lot of respect for Mike Zimmer.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for Al Harris too. And I have a lot of respect for his guys that, guys like Carson but think about what he's done with some of these young kids, getting them coming in, getting them ready to play.
Sure.
Nashawn Wright, these guys look different in the way that they're playing, because of, it's Al Harris, but they also, the buy into the scheme, I think it's there. Now we're going to talk about it till nauseum. They're a defensive tackle or two away from being a really good defense.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it in reality. If you gave them, say, the Commanders' defensive tackles, be a top 5 defense.
Yeah.
It's a top 5 defense with the Commanders' defensive tackles. And they tried. They've tried with this Mazy Smith. And, I'm not going to sit here and continue to beat up Mazy Smith. Just not going to do it. There's times when they're like, Mazy, you can't play on one leg. Mazy, you got to get your hands in there. Mazy, good rep. Mazy needs to develop consistency, but all the defensive tackles need to develop some more consistency the way that they play. Yeah. Just not Mazy Smith. They have got to figure out who all the three other guys are going to be along with Oso Digizua. They're going to have to figure that out. And if they do, they got a shot to be a really, really good defense.
Now, Bryan, I'm just a dude with a microphone and camera, man. We just doing the Doing All Right podcast, the Broaddus podcast, man. And I don't want to say that the Cowboys are misevaluating anybody because they do this for a living. They make a whole bunch of money, right? But it does seem like there's a whole bunch of urgency when we're looking for tackles, right? Like Sam Williams gets hurt and we get 5 people in here the next day and we keep 2 of them, And I'm just curious as to where's that urgency. Even if you look at what the Eagles do, they draft tackles, but those dudes were like backups, like till they were ready. Like Jordan Davis, as much as we loved them, Jalen Carter, they were backups till they were ready. Mazy was a backup. And now a year where he could probably go for being a backup again, he's like the dude now. And that's even more pressure. And he's a dude that's, all right, we know this about him because of the pressure of first round pick. Well, damn, after he recovered from that, now he got pressure of being first dude on the field. I think that's rough. So why? And I just hope I didn't ask you this before, but like, what's up with the urgency here for D tackle? Like, is it just not a lot of them out there?
I think they don't want to do anything. I don't think they want to make a move until they see exactly what they have with Mazy Smith. And I know that's going to drive everybody. I know you just gave me that look. You gave me the Phil Collins look. I get it. Yeah, you got to get the Phil Collins picture up quickly. Yeah. But I get it. And I will say this. I do not think that Will McClay will leave this position unattended. I don't. I think he's going to look at his personnel and he's going to see the same thing that you and I are seeing in others on this field. Yeah. That they have a chance to be a good defense if they can figure out what to do with the one technique. And they try to do it by drafting a guy. He's not ready. He's not ready to play. He's inconsistent. Sometimes he has a good rep and then he'll have 3 bad reps. And then he'll have a good rep and then he'll have another good rep and he'll have 3 bad reps. But there's no consistency with the way they play. They can talk about it all they want. They really can. Talk about it all you want. This is very similar to this is wide receiver by committee. I'm not saying they're going to go out and make a first-round deal for a defensive tackle, but I don't see Will McClay looking at this group and thinking, okay, that right now we're good enough there. Now, and the reason why they're not doing anything is because they want to see for sure. They want to get through these practice, this work against the Rams, a couple of preseason games, and then they're going to figure that out. That, okay, we have a chance. Mike Zimmer's going to walk in there, and we have a chance to be really good, but we have to get better at this spot or this spot. And I think that's where Jerry Jones, Will McClay, Stephen Jones, Mike McCarthy, I think that's where all of a sudden it's like, okay, do we give up a pick? Do we give up resources? Yeah. Do we give up resources? You look at this wide receivers and, wide receivers, some of them you can find. Some of them you can find out there on the street. Some of them you wait for the cut. Dallas has probably got 2 guys that maybe are 6th and 7th receivers on their team right now that could probably be somebody's 4. They've got that kind of a little bit of depth. So there's a little bit of surplus there at wide receiver. And then you get CeeDee Lamb back. Now it's really going to be – there's a fight to see. I think there's a fight here to see in the personnel trailer down the way of, okay, these receivers are going to carry 5 or 6. Yeah. Usually when you don't have enough receivers, it's pretty easy. Every day they've got a receiver. Flournoy started practicing today. Yeah. Made 2-3 catches, And so, okay, well, here you go. Flournoy's back in the mix. What does that do to Billy Johnson and all the other guys that are trying to compete, for Racey McMath? What does that do to all those guys? It knocks them down a peg. Yeah, Flournoy's got a long way to go to get back to the level, but they did draft him for a reason. So to my point, if there is a little surplus somewhere, they're like, listen, trade you a player for a player, or we'll trade you a pick for a player. And hopefully it'll be, because like I say, I keep looking at this defense, and the biggest weakness of it right now is what's going on at the one technique. That's the biggest weakness of this defense. Everything else looks like that it could be. So even playing with Nealon at right end.
Yeah.
Even playing with Nealon at right end, this defense would be fine.
Yeah.
But they're not. But right now, if you talk to them, you bought them a beer at the Rudder Room, they would say, if we could just get better defensive tackle, that would help us a lot more.
There's part of me that wants to play devil's advocate to that too. And let me just walk you through what I'm thinking of, right? Because there's half of me that feels like y'all don't know what y'all are doing. There needs to be some more urgency here. But there's another part of me that understands why you may want to wait this out a little bit. I'll tell you what happened. I was watching today, and I saw Tyler Smith. And I ain't going to cuss because your mom watching, my mom watching, right? I was watching Tyler Smith. He beat the hell out of Mazy Smith. And I was like, dog, that ain't going to cut it. But then John Owning dropped a clip, and Tyler Smith beat the hell out of Oso Digizua, and it was bad. He moved him just as far as he moved Mazy. And I'm gonna see if I can find them clips for you. And in my mind, Brian, I'm like, maybe we just do need to see. Maybe Tyler's okay, but he has to go against Zach Martin every day. Yeah. And he has to go against Tyler Smith every day. Now he whoops TJ Bass. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He'll get some push
TJ Bass doesn't look as good as he did last year at this time. You know, that's a problem. But that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother story. But you're right. Tyler Smith kicks everybody's ass.
Yeah.
He does. He just, when you line up across from Tyler Smith, you're probably going to get moved 2.5 yards off the ball, and Zeke's going to run right behind you, and it's going to look like a massive hole there. But yeah, they're going to wait. And that's why I think that you look at the scrimmages that are coming up, the work against the Rams, the game against the Rams, the game against the Raiders. I mean, I'll be real honest with you, Voch. They got down to the end of this practice, and it was kind of like the threes were playing. The threes and the fours were playing the last period today, and Mazy Smith was in there playing.
Yeah.
You know, Mazy Smith was getting reps. He was playing the one technique, you know, and him and Fehoko, and they moved Fehoko out the end a little bit today, but it was threes and fours, a lot of fours out there playing. Who was playing the nose or the one? It was Mazy Smith. You know, they're trying with the kid.
Brian, I got another question that a lot of media people probably not even asking. I just want to run it by you. And then after this, you can tell me what happened today at practice, Brian. If there's a unit on this team that can win the most improved awards, I'm right back to linebacker, right? But do you think that's because they went from Coach McCurley or whatever? They went from him to, all right, McCurley's involved, Gunther's involved, Zimmer's involved, Harris is involved. Do you think that linebacker room has such a huge boost of energy because so many coaches are involved in kind of flipping that thing around? I went down the list today, and I was like 6 linebackers deep of dudes that can play for you. Kendricks, Parsons, Louisville, Overshown, Clark, and I'm like Harvey. Willie Harvey's a dude.
Willie Harvey's getting a lot of burn. Willie Harvey is getting a lot of burn, and so's Damian Wilson, the veteran. But Willie, if you had to tell me right now, if you said, Broaddus, tell me the last linebacker to make this team, I would say that Willie Harvey is going to be the linebacker that makes this team. Yeah. I think the special team stuff, but that's just right now. We got a lot. We got other days. We got games. We got practices. We got other things to talk about. But if you tell me tell me how the linebackers are playing, I'll have to tell you the story of how Willie Harvey's getting reps because he's getting reps. You know, and I'll say this too. I've also seen Buddy Johnson, and I've also seen Jason Johnson getting work, you know. But Willie Harvey might be a guy that's getting more work with the twos and others like that.
Hey man, I'm just looking at this linebacker group, and it's just exciting. No matter what group is out there, ones, two, threes, like even Mogensen, right? 59. Mogensen is going out there running around, and I just think that's just culture change, man. Like it's not just, oh well, you just got a good linebacker now, he's playing well. Like all those dudes are like showing similar stuff here at practice. I'm just like, man, that must just be the energy of 4 coaches coming together trying to fix this thing, you know?
Yeah, I think the coaches have done a really good job on the defense for, putting them together the way they have. Zimmer being out of the league for a long time, and obviously that with Jeff Zagina was probably going to be the defensive line coach if Ron Rivera got the job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Ron Rivera they asked him, well, Ron, who's going to be your defensive line coach if you get this defensive coordinator job? Ron Rivera said, well, I'd like to bring this Jeff Zagina along if I could. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, Ron Rivera didn't get the job.
And he's here anyway, yeah.
But they probably interviewed Jeff Zagina, and they're like, damn, Ron Rivera's right. So, hey, Jeff, you need a job. And Ron Rivera's probably like, Jeff, go take that job.
Yeah.
Don't wait for me. Go take that job. So I think overall for how they put the staff together, and I think how they put together the linebacker room, they made an effort. They made an effort not to go through what they went through in 2023 with their linebackers.
Yeah.
They got caught short. They got caught with some injuries. They caught with some guys that weren't ready to play, and they got punished for it at times. I don't think they're going to get punished for it this time.
I was holding my breath watching number 7 out there, Bryan Broaddus, but he was planting and running and shucking and moving on that damn knee. And
how about that, man?
He looks fantastic. Boy, how about just adding an all-pro to this thing? Brian, shouts out to 2 Aisha, man. She might be on to something. Aisha Morris, shouts out to her. We might just be a one take away, man. We just added
She knows. No, she knows. She told me. She called me up yesterday and she says, well, this was after the scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
This was Saturday after the scrimmage. She called me up and she goes, hey, let me tell you something about this defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually listen to her. And she goes, we're a defensive tackle or 2 away from having a pretty good defense. I think she's right.
Yeah.
I think she's right about that. But to get back to number 7,
yeah,
I was told that, okay, we're just going to try and get him a little bit more acclimated. Just get him. There was some talk about him not even like for the next couple of weeks, not even doing anything, and not till we got back to the Frisco, where they're But he was out there today in the 7th, playing in 7-on-7. I think he was trying to get a feel for the speed of the game again.
Yeah,
I think that's what he was going to do. He just wanted to see, okay, these are receivers, these are routes. This is me testing out a little things. I think I need to check with some people, some of my sources, to see how it goes, because they probably said, okay, get out there. Let me know how it feels a little bit. If it comes back sore, we'll adjust. But having him out there in pads when thinking that maybe he was not going to be available to really go until we got back to Frisco, I think that's a really good sign of credit to him and to Britt Brown for working the way they did.
Yeah, and they probably are bringing him along slowly, because he did go out there and get a rep, and it was versus like David Durden or something. Like, okay, cool. So they got him.
He just wanted to see the speed of the game is what he wanted to do. Yeah.
Shouts out to him. All right, well, since I've given you everything, Brian.
Oh man, you're good. You're good.
What happened today in practice, man? Talk to him. What are some of your notes?
Yeah, I've man, I wish I can. I got notes. I got notes. I'm a note taker. I got all kinds of circles, and I write like a scout. I got circles and dashes and all that stuff like that. You know what? If we just talk about guys that are missing practice a little bit, though, our tackle Guyton. Yeah, he's got a chest cold is what's happening there. So. That's why he hasn't been. I was thinking, oh, please don't be some. We dealt with that COVID stuff and all that forever. It felt like, but no, it was just a chest cold for him. So hopefully he'll be back more sooner than later.
Bro, let me ask you this. Let me ask you before we move on though. Who do you think is taking advantage of that more, Chuma or Richards? Because I would love for Richards to just take over and show me something. But you're like, who's
we keep trying to bury
Chuma Dog. It's time. It's time to get out of here. It's time to get him out.
We do. We just keep burying Chuma Doga, but he was running with the ones today.
Yeah.
Awesome Richards was pretty darn good in the blue-white practice on Saturday. And so I was happy to see that. He wasn't as good today.
Damn.
Now, yeah, it was one of those things like all of a sudden that he was, but he was going up against Nealon's getting better every rep.
Yeah.
Parsons will wreck your day.
Yeah.
It's like if Tyler Smith wrecks your day, so does Parsons. If Parsons wants to get a sack, he can line up and over, Adoga. Adoga will battle him now too, but Adoga is just, it's a little bit of a, but I like the ones versus the ones. I really do. But Awesome Richards with today wasn't as good as he was on Saturday. So it's all about consistency, and trying to get these guys to be a little bit better with that. Just kind of going through my my notes and stuff, like worked on a lot of fourth down stuff today. Mm-hmm. And the fourth and short carries were Hunter Lipke. So it's like line up Hunter Lipke like old school football and just hand him the ball and then push to try and get. So it's their 4th and 1. Hunter Lipke running the football. So it was a couple different times where he just powered ahead and got first down. So, maybe that's going to be their answer there.
So Bryan Broaddus, if Hunter Lipke's our short yardage back, what we paying Zeke money for? So Bryan Broaddus, you say every fourth down, you say Hunter Lipke went out there and he had the fullback carry. So what does that mean for Ezekiel? Because I know he was at practice and
I was talking to Todd Archer about this today at pre-practice, and Todd's like, man, they sure got 15 in bubble wrap, don't they? Like, does he even practice at all? I'm like, they're saving him. They're saving him for the season.
For week 3. They're saving him for week 3, and then he's going to get old and tired. Come on, Bryan.
They're saving him. But, but a little bit more, we're starting to see, though, a little bit more. I need to count the reps. But Rico Dowdle's getting more reps, though, too. I think it's, with the ones, you get your Zeke, but Rico Dowdle. And the first thing everybody says, when they start to talk about Rico Dowdle, and I was visiting with some guys in the front office about this because I was curious about the draft. And I was curious in a way of, did you ever really consider a running back? And they considered, the kid at Texas, but, went a different direction there. They considered Lloyd from USC,
right?
But then it got really evident that the further they went in the draft, that it's like, wait a minute, we're drafting Rico Dowdle. We're drafting, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they kind of knew too, going in that potentially that they would have Zeke. Okay. I mean, Lloyd would have been a really nice pick, the Texas kid.
Jalen Wright.
Yeah, Tennessee would have been a nice pick. But they got to the point where, the guys that they drafted, and they're in it, and right now as we speak, those kids that they've drafted over these backs are looking pretty good. I mean, and I'm just saying in practice and for what I've seen and, trying to kind of pull it together. Man, we're practicing behind us today. I hear Coach or hear Bones Fossil yelling. But they're doing situational stuff. You might be able to hear them. But they were looking at running backs, but it wasn't to the point where they had the other needs. They were looking at the linebackers, the edge, things like that. They were more interested in getting that done. And like I said, they were They were thinking, okay, if we draft this kid, is he like Rico Dowdle? And Archer and I were talking about this. Rico Dowdle could be the very best back you have here for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But, and then the next thing you say is, but he gets hurt. Can he play a whole season?
Sure.
And that's the question you have about Rico Dowdle. But he looks good out here. He really does. It's just you worry about that. You worry about that injury stuff. That's sometimes kind of gets him when he's playing.
And, honestly, Bryan, that's fair because, linebacker was an emergency. Edge was an emergency. But 30 visits are dead to me now. I don't even want to look at them when they come out. I don't want to analyze them. I don't want to hear the insiders tweet about them no more because we had 9 running backs on that daggone 30 visit list. And now all of a sudden, Braylon Allen ain't better than Rico Dowdle. Audric Estimate ain't better than Rico Dowdle. Jalen Wright from Tennessee ain't better than Rico Dowdle. So what we even got 9 running backs on the 30 visit for?
Hey man, you know what? I understand, but that's what they believed. That's what they believed, that they got to a point where I can't even look at you anymore. I can't. They were. That's what they said. And you know what? If Nealon works out and Luafau works out.
Fantastic.
And they find another back, or Rico Dowdle does in fact stay healthy, and they're right about that. Good for them. But I know one thing. I was screaming for that USC kid.
Yeah,
I was screaming for him. But then again, I probably didn't have a really good handle on really what Leofau was, And right now, Leofau looks like they're playing base defense.
Yeah.
Leofau playing out there, Clark's playing out there, Kendrick's playing out there.
Yeah,
looks pretty good at linebacker for how they're playing. They've got guys that are all running to the damn ball. Yeah. The LSU kid is grateful that he's got 2 really smart guys playing next to him to kind of tell him what to do, because he'll run to the ball. If you tell him, hey, they're going to run it over here, he'll run over there and make the tackle.
Yeah. Hey man, it seems like this draft class is going to be a little better than
we'll see. Better than the last 2 years.
Yeah,
for sure. Especially with the situation too, man. The Schoonmaker one thing is killing me right now. Yeah, tough. It's just killing me, man. You're kind of a Cowboy historian. Was Dalton Schultz kind of a hurt guy his first couple years? I can't remember. Remember I was throwing a lot. He blocked me on Twitter because I was saying, I would move on from him and all that stuff like that. But was Dalton Schultz a hurt guy? And
Schultz was around. He just wasn't really thought of. Jarwin was the guy that was always hurt.
Yeah. Okay.
Blake Jarwin was the guy that was always hurt.
Well, he didn't block me. Yeah. Dalton Schultz blocked me on Twitter.
Jarwin didn't block nobody. That's the problem. That's why
he didn't block anybody. That's why. Yeah. The whole thing with Schoonmaker. I hope. I can't defend anymore. I can't defend. I used to defend, and I can't defend anymore. He's standing next to me watching practice. Yeah. I can't. But, I said the same thing with Flournoy. He was out there running around today catching the football. Glad to see that. I was a little worried that all of a sudden you start missing time. It turns into you can't catch up, and it affects the way that you play. But it's good to have him out there running around and playing a little bit.
One last thing, and I'm gonna let you go.
No, man, what do you got? Just keep going.
How far do you think his second round price tag is gonna keep him here? Because Hendershot,
that's a good question.
Hendershot is on a bubble, and he dropped a hell of a seam route.
That seam was Dak threw it right there.
Dak is the best seam throwing quarterback in the league, and Hendershot just can't catch him. Hendershot's not allowed to miss days. Princeton Fant's not allowed. No. Brevin Ford is not allowed to miss and have bad days like that. How long is Schoonmaker's soft tissue injury? Look at that soft tissue. Yeah. Not just hamstring, but his groin is always soft tissue stuff. How long before we look at him and go, damn, that second round pick, man?
I don't know. Man, and I'm sorry. I hate to do that to our audience. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Cool. Because if I was in scouting, and as much as I liked him coming out of Michigan, I would just I just keep fighting and saying, okay, hey, maybe, but every time I turn around, it's, one step forward, two steps back guy. I mean, he goes out there. It ain't like he's dropping the ball and stuff like that. When they throw him the ball, he catches it. He's got some athletic ability and all, but yeah, how can you? Where's the trust? I can't trust the guy to stay healthy, and that's but that man Hendershot. You're right. Dak threw a friggin' right down the. But I'll tell you what I think it was, because I think Clark and I think Hooker were in coverage. I think were the two that were in coverage on the play, and they were right there too. So they were in good position. But man, you gotta catch that ball right there if you can.
Let's see. Got one.
You got it?
Was
it my guys? Was I right about on my notes? It's 18 and
28. So Hooker and
there it is. It's Clark and Hooker.
Yep.
Yeah. One more time if you could for me, please.
Yes, sir. 100%. That's a hell of a ball, man.
I mean, and Clark has got to turn around and look for that ball, though, man. He's got to get some help. What would really probably help him is you see Wilson over here to his left.
Yeah.
Wilson's yelling ball, 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 maybe put a hand up or something like that. But that was a hell of a shot from Dak. It really, really was. But unfortunately that, Hendershot didn't come up with the ball. But man, I've thrown a lot of dirt on him. He's made some plays, but not as many as you thought he might make. He's had better days, but that's a deep room. That is a deep room with those tight ends for sure.
Bryan, I'm glad that I could ask you tough questions. I'm glad that I can bring you some thought-provoking stuff. I really love to put you on the spot, Bryan, because I think you respect being on the spot. You know what I mean? Like, if I just asked you the same question everybody else asked you, this wouldn't be special. This wouldn't be the We Doing All Right pod,
No, I mean, I appreciate the tough questions, because I wish, there were times when I would sit in personnel and I'd ask myself the same questions, and I'm like, how long are we waiting on this guy? What are we doing about this? Are we really going to not play with a defensive tackle? Are we, are we coached well enough here? What, all these things that you brought up, I think are very, very, pertinent things to how you're building your football team and what we need to do going forward. So, yeah, I tell you, these practice, I give Mike McCarthy a lot of credit, because these practices have been good. As far as him practicing ones versus ones. Yeah. I mean, Jason Garrett used to practice ones versus twos, and you couldn't get anything out of that. But watching, Mazy Smith have to struggle with Tyler Smith, it needs to happen. Sure. He's not going to play against Tyler Smith every week, but at least it gives you an idea where you have to be a little bit better. Yeah. You have to be a little bit better. But, I'm glad to be watching these practices and talking about it with you on a daily basis.
I appreciate you, sir. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Go ahead.
Tomorrow night, I don't get to talk to you.
Okay. That's perfectly fine. We'll find something to do on the channel, and we'll pretend like Bryan is here. Go ahead.
You know what? It's the Jerry Media Party tomorrow night.
Y'all about to go eat a $10,000 worth of.
I told Jeff Kavanaugh, that I would drive him so he could have a lot of drinks. So we're gonna go down to Nobu and Malibu and hang out and do all those things. So I will miss you tomorrow night, sir. I will miss you. But I promise I will catch back up with you on Wednesday. I think we got day baseball. If you want to do a couple of shows, I can do a couple of shows with that. Got some day baseball on 105.3 The Fan. So maybe we can circle back and take care of some stuff. How about that?
Hell yeah, tap in with me. I'm here all day whenever you're ready. But
what are you going to talk about without me? Bryan,
I am a professional. I'll figure it out.
You're Don DeMarco. What are you going to talk about without me?
I'm gonna talk about what practice looked like from Twitter. I don't have a boots on the ground approach.
Yeah.
But if you're not here, I'm gonna be like, man, today at practice looked like, boy, John Machota said this. Man, look at it. Look at that video Todd Archer put out, and that's what practice gonna be like without you. I don't have no insight. I just go, you know.
Yeah, you're fine. You'll figure it. You're probably better off doing it that way than talking to me for sure.
It's false. But I appreciate you. Hey, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Bryan Broaddus is here. Follow him on Twitter, BRYN Broaddus. He's not going to be tweeting while he's eating $1,000 sushi, but he will before he goes. All right. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. We are doing all right. Crown.